The nation was robbed of evidence which could have served as a precursor to suspended Deputy National Commissioner, Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiy's alleged shadowy dealings with alleged members of criminal cartels. This as Witness F, his alleged middleman, was hospitalized and could not complete his testimony. This development, however, was of no assistance to Sibiya, as his conduct following the December 2024 PKTT disbandment directive still demanded answers from the high-ranking SABC official, who seemingly took the stance that he would not go down alone. I'm Kani Mapanga, and this is the Madlanga Wrap.
The National Commissioner testified that the minister's directive to disestablish the PKTT came as a complete surprise to him. However, I wish to draw the Commissioner's attention to a meeting held on the 1st of November 2024 at the SABC Academy in Tshwane, which concerned human resource management matters and the organizational structure of the South African Police Service. This meeting was attended by the Minister Mkunu, the two Deputy Ministers, the National Commissioner, the Deputy Commissioners, including myself, and other attendees. The chairperson asked a question and said, why were the dockets taken from KZN to Gauteng? I don't know. I never gave any instructions to anyone to go fetch the dockets from KZ and bring them to Gauteng. It has been alleged that General Sintumule personally benefited from Matlala in circumstances that were not disclosed. These allegations include that certain elective medical procedures were performed by medical practitioners, the cost of which were paid by Mr. Matlala. I am advised that these benefits were not declared through any formal disclosure.
The Commission was set to kick off this week's hearings with a continuation of Witness F's testimony. Witness F was the partially in-camera witness who was seen on CCTV footage at the home of alleged cartel member Katiso Molefe, leaving in an official car with a bag. Witness F's evidence, however, extended to much more than the said CCTV footage. The Commission was set to continue delving into the WhatsApp exchanges extracted from the phone of Witness F. The said exchanges placed Witness F as a common denominator in exchanges allegedly between Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya and shadowy figures of the alleged criminal cartel world. It is assumed that Witness F's evidence would serve as a significant precursor to Sibiya's looming testimony that would follow. That is, insofar as the extent to which Sibiya is alleged to be associated with the alleged criminal network. This was, however, halted in the interim due to the hospitalization of Witness F, prompting questions of what was to be further revealed in those text messages and whether Witness F will even return, in light of the fact that his lawyers, were resistant from the beginning to the extent that they even turned to the courts to try and block his testimony and the display of the WhatsApp exchanges. Those questions will be answered on the 16th of March when Witness F is set to return before the probe. A confident Sibiya took to the stand armed with denials against the serious allegations against him, which include an alleged middleman communicating and transacting with alleged shadowy figures on his behalf, a recording of alleged cartel member Vusimuzi Cat Matlala, which paints Sibiya as an alleged compromised top cop, and his very own conduct in implementing the PKTT disbandment, which raised concerns. In spite of this, Sibiya denies any wrongdoing.
That plan that I signed, we were working together with the National Commissioner. We were in this thing together that I signed and sent.
And while Sibiya acknowledges Vusimuzi Cat Matlala, he denies that it wasn't an improper relationship or that he received any kickbacks from the alleged cartel member.
Furthermore, I categorically deny that I have ever received, solicited, or accepted any form of gratification, inducement, benefit, or kickback from Matlala for any other person. Any suggestion to the contrary is false, unfounded, and devoid of any factual basis.
Following these denials against the allegations, Sibiya further took the opportunity to ensure that he does not go down alone by attempting to paint his actions as part of a group effort allegedly sanctioned by General Fani Masemola, such as his implementation of the December 2024 directive, which saw the transfer of the 121 PKTT dockets from KZN to the Pretoria headquarters, which he claims to not know about.
The judge, the chairperson asked a question and say, why were the dockets taken from KZN to Gauteng? I don't know. I never gave any instructions to anyone to go fetch the dockets from KZ and bring them to Gauteng. Now, the dockets were taken from KZN, brought to head office. I only was told that the dockets have been handed over. Here is a, can we refer to the handing over report and the people that attended that handing over, because there are signatures of the individuals that were involved there to do a handing over. In my case, I've been involved Chair, in many such handing overs, including the disbandment of the Scorpions into the DPCI. I am the one who, with Advocate Rothman, I was the head of investigations. Advocate Rothman was in general the head of the DPCI. All the dockets I was, and the projects, we had to take them to the police. We had to prepare reports. We had to look into each and every one, the status, and then so that we have a proper record of what we handed over. So to my advice was that just make sure that nothing falls in between the cracks, and that we don't lose cases because of this transition, and that we can account for each and every docket.
Sibiya also took aim at his fellow SAPS counterparts, namely Lieutenant General Hilda Sentumule, who is currently warming his seat as the Acting Deputy National Commissioner for Crime Detection, by bringing what he sought to advance as her alleged skeletons to the fore. Not only did he allege that she has a close relationship with Witness F, seemingly to allegedly create another avenue for Witness F's conduct at the home of alleged cartel member Katiso Molefe. In a first before the commission, Sibiya also claimed that Sentumule allegedly had an improper association with alleged cartel member Vusimuzi Cat Matlala, further dropping that Cat allegedly paid for a BBL for Sentumule.
It has been alleged that General Sentumule personally benefited from Matlala in circumstances that were not disclosed. These allegations include that certain elective medical procedures were performed by medical practitioners, the cost of which were paid for by Mr. Matlala. I am advised that these benefits were not declared through any formal disclosure. I raise these matters because...
Sorry, General, just before you move on, when you say it has been alleged, who alleges this?
Firstly, I think we had a witness here that spoke about certain senior managers who received BBL. And then in my case, what I said, where I said that because I work with her every day, I had to give her off. Sometimes because she could not sit, even in the car, even in the office, because she could not work. She had to always, at all times, be standing the whole day because she was not supposed to sit. And I even advised her to work from home. So as to the question as to who alleges, sometimes I shouldn't at this point in time maybe disclose who gave me the information, but I am able to give to the commission if I have to give. I'm forced to give it to the commission because sometimes people's lives could be in danger as well.
Little did Sibiya know that the hard evidence before the commission would come back to bite and dismantle his attempt to rope in other senior SAPS officials in his actions, resulting in him leaning on the defense that he was being oppressed. More of that detail after the break. Sibiya's attempts to paint his actions of the implementation of the PKTT directive as one which was allegedly sanctioned by top cop General Fani Masemola fell to pieces when he could not point to evidence to discredit the claim that he implemented the directive unilaterally. This, as cross-examination showed that his implementation plans on the winding down of the PKTT was rejected twice, meaning that he did not have the approval of Masemola when he issued the third document, the much-debated deactivation letter, But when he was probed further on where he got the support for such a move, Sibiya failed to point to documentation that could sustain his claim.
If many will remember, after the 6th of July press briefing by General Mkhwanazi, at some point the National Commissioner was asked by the media, were you aware that he's going to make such press conference? He said, yes, he told me. And did you give such order that this team be disbanded? He said, I never gave anyone any instruction. And then based on that, from my side, knowing that I have an email that directed me, that is how I approach it, to say, but the National Commission is not being honest here, because
the email, if you have another email, point us to it. Let's stop doing this, this secular discussion. If you have another email, by all means, introduce it. SS9, and now I'm putting it to you. SS9 does not instruct you to implement the deactivation. It doesn't. If that instruction was ever given by the National Commissioner, it's contained somewhere else, and you are free to refer us to that. But we can't keep doing this where you are insisting that the National Commissioner told me to implement the deactivation and he did that in SS9. It doesn't. And it's problematic that you insist that SS9 contains such an instruction. It doesn't. On any construction, it doesn't.
Just a last comment for me on this one, if I'm allowed, Chair.
Yes, you are. You may comment.
If there was this letter from the minister, then there is the email that comes from the National Commissioner's office, and there is a presentation in Parliament that speaks about the fact that the minister has issued an instruction to the directive to the National Commissioner, and there's been several meetings and consultative meetings held, and that we are now implementing, and this is how it's going to happen. As far as I'm concerned, there has been an agreement all the way that this is emanating from that letter, going to the directive by the National Commissioner, going to even up to Parliament and saying and coming up with an implementation plan. To me, the cycle is completed. But if it is rejected by the commissioners, I will accept it as well.
General, the National Commissioner implements with General Khumalo. We know that. He goes to General Khumalo and says, prepare a plan for me. So he is doing something arising from that letter from the minister. You do your own thing. And what you do is not based on anything that the National Commissioner asked you to do. He asked you to communicate, which you do. You communicate. 2, he says, prepare an activation plan, which you do. You present it to him on the 14th. But you do a third thing. You implement immediately. You give instructions to implement and deactivate. That is not contained anywhere in writing that we have seen. It's not in SS9, and if you're and so far you've relied only on SS9. So, and if that's the only thing you're relying on, what I'm putting to you is SS9 doesn't give you that instruction, so you acted without instruction, because that's what you're relying on. It follows. You acted without instruction, and that's what it is, General.
The implication of the alleged unilateral directive apologies resulted in the 121 dockets being transferred to the Pretoria headquarters, where they gathered dust for some months without detectives having access to them. While Sibiya refused to shoulder all the blame for this reality that was born out of his alleged directive, he agreed that it was a serious interference with the administration of justice.
And I'm not talking about you personally right now, I'm just saying as an objective fact, what happened here was very serious. And it constituted interference with the investigation of active cases.
I fail to reconcile the fact that the evidence leader ignores the fact that these dockets were not being investigated since 2018. For a very long time, they were not. But even even when you compare 3 to 5 years to 3 months, and you find 3 months to be the travesty of justice compared to the 5 months where those dockets were sitting gathering dust somewhere.
General, even if it were true, which there's a different version, let me just say, about whether they were being investigated by the PKTT. Even if it were true, that is no answer to what I'm putting to you.
I will simply not agree that there was a travesty of justice by not, for the 3 months period or 5 months period compared to the 5 years period. I still believe that it was also not by our own making or my own making, because let us accept the fact that someone refused to accept to receive the docket or rejected the docket. That part on its own was not a smart move either from the provincial commissioner to reject.
That's why when I began, I said I'm not assigning responsibility anywhere. I'm just saying from an objective point of view. Dockets sitting in head office for that length of time not being investigated is an interference with the administration of justice. And you said you would not agree with that.
From the neutral perspective, I agree with it. From a person who is neutral watching, not apportioning any blame to whoever, I will say it is true. It is correct.
It was very serious interference with the administration of justice.
I do accept that one.
And if it follows that Sibiya acted without instruction on the implementation of the PKTT disbandment directive, then the Commission is tasked with getting to the bottom of why he did so. In light of the objective evidence before the probe that places him as one of the figures that allegedly enjoyed a close association with alleged cartel members that were being pounced on by the PKTT in the same period that gave birth to the directive. To unpack this, we are now joined by criminologist Professor Nomala Gopal. Professor, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to Connecting the Dots.
Good afternoon, Kenny. Good afternoon to your viewers, and it's always a pleasure to join you guys.
All right, and I'm sure you've been listening to a bit of Sibiya's testimony this week. That was probably the most highly anticipated testimony during phase 2. And it is clear from what he has stated so far that he's unable to advance the claim that he was acting as a part of a collective, as he tries to put it, with the sanction of the top cop that is General Fani Masemola. But it seems that he took his own actions beyond what was approved by General Fani Masemola and implemented that PKTT disbandment directive, leading to the question why. Now, the Commission now has to get to the possible motive regarding that particular action taken by Sibiya, and what are your thoughts regarding that?
So I think, Kenny, based on the data, the evidence that we have for almost 7 months now since the 6th of July, I think one can arrive at quite an intelligent guess in terms of why he acted independently, autonomously in the intervention or the instruction that he provided. And I think largely then it was to protect Cat Matlala and perhaps other members of the so-called the Big Five. So I think that would be, for me, that would be my immediate response in terms of why he acted unilaterally and went ahead and did what he did.
Mm-hmm. With that glaring reality in front of him that places him in close proximity with the alleged cartel members, whether it be Cat Matlala or Katiso, Katie, Molefe, it seems that he took this stance that he wasn't going to go down alone in the particular evidence that he was presenting, introducing additional issues about Top Cop General Fani Masemola, but particularly taking quite specific aim at Lieutenant General Sentumule, who is that particular officer that is enjoying that acting post in his particular seat. And he tries to paint her as someone that allegedly not only enjoyed a close relationship with Witness F, but also allegedly with Cat Matlala as well.
Yes, I think, Kenny, what he's doing, like you rightfully say, he doesn't want to go down alone. And anyone and or everyone that he either he knows of or he believes had some relationship with Cat Matlala, and that, of course, is the relationship would be, one where they benefited from his criminal activity, etc., in return for protection and security. Sibiya is definitely going to take them down with him, because the writing's on the wall for Sibiya, and I'm quite certain that his lawyers might have, given some hint to it. Friends, colleagues, I mean, the whole country believes that Sibiya is going down. There's no way in which Sibiya can return to his post, given the kind of evidence against him at this point in time.
I also find it quite interesting, Prof, that he specifically took aim at Lieutenant General Senthumule. Outside of all of those SABC officials, he seems to officially want to rope her in and discredit her as a high-ranking SABC official. What do you make of the particular allegations that he made about her that we're hearing about for the first time, because it didn't come up during phase 1 of the WhatsApp exchanges with alleged cartel member Vusumuzi Cat Matlala, and it certainly didn't come up in the few days that we heard of Witness F's testimony, where he would have any WhatsApp exchanges to Senthumule, but he seems to have a specific aim at her in ensuring that those additional issues, even going to the extent of bringing up an iPad case that he opened against her, alleging that she made fraudulent claims in his name for protectors that were allegedly for him, but were never given to him.
So, Kenny, I think like you, many of us are intrigued in terms of why he had decided to bring in her name. So for me, there's a couple of reasons why I believe that he would have done that. For one, this might not sound very plausible, but definitely you can see through Sibiya's testimony and the way in which he engages the women, especially in the courtroom, seems to be hugely problematic. He doesn't seem to have much respect either for Commissioner Baloy or the evidence leader Hassim. So that is very stark at this point in time. But the second one, I think, is also the fact that he might have believed that Senthumule was going to give him protection, and the fact that she didn't. He is aware of the kind of information that she had provided to both Masemola as well as Mpunazi. I think it's probably a story of, sour grapes here. But in addition to that, Kenny, one of the things that really worries me about Sibiya is that he seems to completely lack any sense of remorse.
Indeed. And speaking on that long trail of Sibiya and his over 30 years in the service, he's had quite an interesting career that has been marked by a few scandals in various institutions that he served in, whether it is the Hawks or the city of Johannesburg. What do you think he'll be able to make it out of this one? We remember in his testimony that he said that this was a common thread that emerged in his career when people wanted to oust him, allegedly out of his position. Is this something that he can worm his way out of in light of the hard evidence before the probe?
No, my immediate response would be no. And the fact that he says there's a conspiracy to get rid of him, and that there has been a conspiracy in the various jobs or various departments that he worked within, I think there's absolutely no truth to that. Clearly, one can see that Sibiya is problematic, has been problematic, has gotten away with illegal or unlawful behavior. And I think he probably also knows right now that there's very little, I think there's absolutely no chances of him being let off the hook here.
All right, thank you very much. That was Prof. Gopal with her insightful analysis on the testimony of Sibiya, who is not yet done with his appearance before the commission, analyzing that particular testimony and what it means and the implications for him, not only in his career, but by the findings of the commission. Sibiya returns to the stand on Monday at 9:30 a.m. where cross-examination continues as the evidence against him demands more answers. Sibiya still needs to shed more light on Witness C's recording where Cat Matlala spilled the beans on the alleged benefits he afforded to Sibiya, as well as the CCTV footage that places his alleged middleman, Witness F, at the home of Katiso Molefe leaving with a bag. Join us next week, Sunday at 5 p.m. to see whether he is able to escape the implications of such allegations, which speak to the heart of this highly publicized probe.